Easily the biggest and most awaited matchup between high school players in a while occurred Thursday night on ESPN2 on a day full of great matchups. And the game I'm referring to is obviously Ypsi Prep vs Team Sizzle, starring two very tall beasts in 6'9" Emoni Bates and 7'1" Chet Holmgren, who both have an unending amount of potential. But anyway, this game was so major because on one end, Chet is someone who really just emerged in the past year as far as media hype, and he is ranked #1 for this year's graduating class, while Emoni is a grade lower and also ranked #1 for his class. But he has been getting media attention since middle school, and with such similar builds or body frames, it's nearly impossible not to compare the two and want to see them go head to head. And high school basketball fans everywhere finally got to see this on Thursday in a game where, in short summary, both stars showed out, but Chet got the W over Emoni in a pretty close game that ended in a score of 78-71. And I'm going to get into much more detail about the duel further into the video, along with Chet's response to the media and fans and all the disrespect after the win. But I'm also going to cover some of the biggest takeaways that I feel people may be glancing over as they focus on just Emoni and Chet for obvious reasons. So stay tuned. But before I go further, what's good YouTube? Plug speaks back with a vid. If you're new, subscribe. If you believe both Emoni and Chet are NBA bound, sub up. I post some quality basketball content 2 to 3 times a week, and it would be a big help. The goal is to hit 1K within this month. Back to the video though. Alright, so going into this game, right, people already knew how great these players were. I mean, Chet recently played on national television a couple weeks back in a big tournament featuring guys like Mikey Williams, and he had a game with 18 points, 18 rebounds, and 11 blocks. He was just so dominant. However, even still, going into the recent matchup against Emoni, he was the underdog. Crazy to think about, I know, but many people expected Emoni to dominate and win this matchup, and the duel was a close one, but if you ask me, determining the winner of a duel like this is still not very hard. Chet Holmgren had 31 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 blocks on 13 of 18 shooting and came out with a dub, while Emoni had 36 points and 10 rebounds on 11 for 22 shooting and a loss. And I know the stats, well, points at least, are in favor of Emoni, but anyone who watched the full game could tell you that if you had to choose the winner of this duel, it would have to be in favor of Chet. And as the title suggests, Chet did not hold his tongue about his victory in this matchup at all. Like, he let it be known. He went to Twitter afterwards to offer Emoni his respect, but also to demand his own respect from his many doubters, which consist of people that are Emoni fans or just people that do not see the hype in such a skinny 7'1" player in high school. But back to the actual game. From the very beginning, these two were at it. Emoni came out with a dunk early on the fast break, then he also hit some threes, and he even had a first quarter buzzer beater. And he was just really playing with a lot of emotion because on paper, yes, this was just an exhibition game, really doesn't mean too much, but mentally deep down, both Chet and Emoni knew what could be at stake. But yeah, Chet also started out well with some nice passes and buckets in the paint, but further into the game is when he would truly thrive. And I'm gonna go over the rest of the game somewhat vaguely because the game's takeaways are really where it's at. But yeah, further into the game, Chet asserted his dominance with several blocks and points, but the story of the game for Chet has to be his unguardable back to the basket spin move in the paint. He just kept going to this move over and over in the game. Like, he scored 31 points in total, and I don't know if this is true, but off the eye test, he probably got a third of his points just off this same move. And moving on, you could even say that Chet got into the head of Emoni Bates, which is pretty tough because for the most part, Chet wasn't even saying much. Instead, I should say Emoni got into his own head because at several times in the game, after Chet scored a 3 or a bucket in the paint, Emoni would come down the other way and try to return the basket. However, this did not bode well in his favor because he had multiple air balls in these attempts. And even if he had made these shots, you could see it in the man's face. He's a competitor, and whenever Chet got the upper hand, you could tell Emoni was annoyed. But yeah, this game was still within reach for Ypsi Prep until about midway through the fourth quarter when Team Sizzle began to pull away as Chet got a block on Emoni. Team Sizzle got some defensive stops and followed through with buckets on the other side, and then the game was basically over. But now for the takeaways, which I will say also have to do with Emoni and Chet, but y'all, there is more to this game. And it would just be complete and utter disrespect to talk about all this without mentioning Donovan Smith on Team Sizzle, who went off for 8 threes from all over the court. I mean, deep ones, threes off the dribble, spot up threes, what you want. Like, he was the difference in this game. And I'm not trying to act like he's not already cold or not a known shooter, but 8 threes are not the norm for him or anyone really for that matter, and if he had a regular game, chances are the result of this matchup is a win for Ypsi Prep, but clearly that's not what happened. And this guy Donovan Smith is apparently pretty known for shooting well from deep, as Chet Holmgren refers to him as the baby Trae Young of their team, and it's safe to say he really did earn that nickname. But moreover, this is a big deal because when you perform so well on national television in front of a huge audience, opportunities begin to show up. People begin to know your name. And although he is just rated as a 2-star athlete right now that stands at 5'9", I have no doubts that he's caught the attention of some scouts, as he is currently a junior with a whole nother year to develop. I mean, 8 threes on national television, that for sure opens some doors. He could possibly even play D1 maybe. But moving on to some other takeaways, I'm not sure everyone is aware, but Thursday night was Emoni Bates' first time ever playing on the national stage. And in the face of all the pressure put on these guys in high school, he put up 36 points, which was nearly half of his team's total points, which is 71. I mean, say whatever you want about his performance, good or bad. What you can't say is that he is not made for the bright lights. And I know many people expected him to perform well, like he's supposed to do this. He was a favorite going in from what I can tell. However, I still find it impressive that he went out there and did what he did. Really, his performance served to further my belief that although he already verbally committed to MSU, Michigan State, he will probably not end up playing a single game for them, as he's just that good. Whether it be the G League pro pathway or going straight to the NBA after high school with a change in the current rules, I don't know. But for more detail on that, check out my video I made on it after he announced his decisions to MSU a couple months back. But I really do not believe he will play a single game for them. Anyway, my next takeaway is how dangerous Chet and Team Sizzle, aka Minnehaha Academy, really are. Because regardless of who you feel has more potential between Emoni and Chet showed that he's that guy in this game. I mean, talk about putting up these numbers against the #1 player in the class under you as the underdog at that. And any questions of him being able to do this at higher levels are just dumb when you really think about the reality that at 7'1", no matter the level of basketball, you are taller than most of your opponents. And on top of this, he is just 190 pounds, like not even 200. When he adds on more weight and muscle after meeting more trainers in his path to the league, who knows how great he will be. I know people already talk about it enough, but a 7'1" player can shoot, can dribble, very active defensively, can pass. The potential is endless. But I also feel that Minnehaha Academy as a team, as a whole, and their ability is also a takeaway, because yes, they've been good. Playing at a high level is nothing new to them, but it's like day in and day out, they just win. And even after losing one of their best players used to lead their team, future NBA player in Jalen Suggs, they are still pressured. A couple weeks back in the Top Flight invite, they destroyed Sierra Canyon, and the only team to knock them off so far has been Arenado, led by the 4th best player for the class of 2021 in Jaden Hardy. And even that game was very close, as the final score was 59-56. I just feel the need to give Chet and his team their credit, as Jalen Suggs was a huge piece for them. But yeah, I am about to wrap this video up. Before I do though, I got one last takeaway from this game, and that was the difference in the guard play between these two teams. Like, I doubt anyone is actually blaming or holding Emoni most responsible for this loss, but in case anyone is, let me just tell you, you're bugging. And y'all are probably tired of me mentioning the eye test by now, but without even knowing the full stats, I would not be surprised if Donovan Smith, the guy that had 8 threes on Team Sizzle, outscored both starting guards on Ypsi Prep. But honestly, I won't speak too much on this because, I mean, they're not the ones ranked 5 stars. Plus, this is just high school basketball. It may sound hypocritical since I'm the one analyzing these high school hoopers, but unless they are on the path to the pros, holding them to this standard is pretty pointless. But yeah, that pretty much sums up this video and the takeaways. So that's it from me. I for sure appreciate y'all watching, man. Make sure to like this, sub if new, share all of that. More bangers on the way, and I'm out.